An old man slips out of a besieged city at night into the enemy camp. He walks past the guards into the tent of the deadliest warrior alive, the man who killed his son a few days ago and has been dragging the body behind a chariot ever since. The old king kneels and kisses the hands that did it. This scene is nearly 3,000 years old. It's the climax of the Iliad, the oldest war story in Western literature, and the reason a $250 million movie is in theaters right now. Here's what we're going to do. First, the story as the Greeks told it. Then, what archaeologists actually dug out of the ground. Because parts of this myth turned out to be disturbingly real. It starts, as Greek disasters tend to, with the gods behaving badly. A wedding on Olympus. Every god is invited except one, Eris, the goddess of discord. She shows up anyway and rolls a golden apple into the party, inscribed, "For the fairest." 3 goddesses claim it: Hera, Athena, Aphrodite. Zeus, too smart to judge that contest himself, hands the decision to a mortal, Paris, a prince of Troy. Each goddess offers a bribe: power, glory in war. Aphrodite offers something else: the most beautiful woman in the world. Paris gives her the apple. The problem? The most beautiful woman in the world, Helen, is already married to Menelaus, king of Sparta. Paris sails to Sparta as a guest and leaves with his host's wife. Whether Helen fled or was taken depends on who's telling it. Either way, Menelaus calls in his allies. His brother Agamemnon, the most powerful king in Greece, raises a coalition from every corner of the Greek world. The catalogue in Homer runs to over 1,000 ships. Among the men aboard, Achilles, the greatest warrior of his generation, and Odysseus, the cleverest. What they expected to be a raid becomes a siege. 9 years, camped on a foreign beach, outside walls they cannot break. This is where the Iliad actually begins, not with the apple, not with the ships. Year 10. And Homer's subject isn't really the war, it's one man's rage. Agamemnon publicly humiliates Achilles, confiscates his war prize, a captive woman named Briseis. Achilles, insulted, does the Bronze Age equivalent of a general strike. He walks off the battlefield and takes his men with him, and without him, the Greeks start dying. The Trojans, led by Paris's brother Hector, the one genuinely decent man in the whole poem, push the invaders back to their ships. Achilles still won't fight, so his closest friend, Patroclus, begs to borrow his armor, just to scare the Trojans off. Hector kills him, under the walls in Achilles' armor. What follows is the most famous rampage in literature. Achilles returns, not for Greece, not for Helen, for revenge. He cuts through the Trojan army, meets Hector under the walls, kills him, and then refuses to give the body back. For days he drags it behind his chariot around Patroclus's grave. Which brings us back to that tent. King Priam, Hector's father, crossing enemy lines at night to ransom his son's corpse. And Achilles, the man built out of rage, looks at this old king who reminds him of his own father and breaks. They weep together. He gives Hector back. That is where the Iliad ends. Not with victory, with a funeral. The famous ending, Achilles killed by an arrow to the heel, the giant wooden horse, the city burning. None of that is in the Iliad. Those pieces come from the Odyssey and later poems in the cycle. The horse everyone knows from Homer mostly isn't Homer. For over 2,000 years, that was the story, and for most of the modern era, educated people were confident about what it was. Fiction. A fairy tale with named characters, no Troy, no war, nothing to find. There was just one problem with that confidence. Homer kept naming real places, and one hill in Turkey kept not being explained. First, the uncomfortable math. Homer, Whoever he was, composed around the 8th century BC. The war he sang about would have happened 400 to 500 years earlier, with no writing in between, just generations of poets reciting from memory, each free to improve the story. That's the gap between us and Shakespeare. Skepticism was reasonable. Enter Heinrich Schliemann, not an archaeologist, but a German self-made millionaire who treated the Iliad as a treasure map. In the 1870s, he attacked a mound called Hisarlik, pickaxes, a monstrous trench, by some accounts, even explosives. And the hill turned out to be full of cities. Not one Troy, at least 9, stacked in layers, built and destroyed and rebuilt across 3,000 years. In 1873, Schliemann hit gold, diadems, jewelry, vessels, and told the world's newspapers he'd found the treasure of King Priam. He was wrong, by 1,000 years. The layer he'd struck died around 2400 BC, older than the Trojan War is to Homer. Worse, chasing his gold, his workers had shoveled straight through the layers from the right era and dumped them as fill. The man determined to prove the war happened may have destroyed the best evidence that it did. It took another century of careful digging to read what was left. 2 layers matter. Troy 6, sloping stone walls, watchtowers, a fortress worthy of Homer's strong-walled Ilios. Destroyed around 1300 BC, most likely by an earthquake. Then Troy 7a. Its people had crammed themselves inside the walls, grand houses subdivided into cells, giant storage jars sunk into the floors. A city packing itself in and stocking up. A city expecting something. Around 1180 BC, almost exactly when Greek tradition placed the fall of Troy, Troy 7a burned. In the debris, human bones in the streets, bronze arrowheads, sling stones. Lying in patterns archaeologists say fit a siege rather than a quake. Skeptics had one card left. This Troy was tiny, a fort, not a kingdom worth a war. Then in the 1990s, Manfred Korfmann's team surveyed beyond the citadel and found an entire unexcavated lower city. 5,000 to 10,000 people guarding the sea road to the Dardanelles. Not a fort, a prize. But a burned city can't name its killer. For that, you need paperwork. And it exists. In the archives of the Hittite Empire, the superpower next door that wrote everything down. In those clay tablets, there's a vassal city called Wilusa, which most scholars now accept is Troy. Say them together. Wilusa. Wilios, the older Greek name for Ilios, as in the Iliad. It gets stranger. Around 1280 BC, a Hittite king signed a treaty with Wilusa's ruler. The ruler's name, pressed into clay, Alexandru. In Homer, Paris, the prince who starts the war, carries a second name, Alexandros. And among the treaty's divine witnesses, Apollonius, a name scholars link to Apollo, the god who defends Troy in the poem. And in a letter to the king of the Ahiawa, a seagoing power most scholars identify as Homer's Achaeans, the Mycenaean Greeks, a Hittite king mentions, almost in passing, that Wilusa was once a source of conflict between them. Read that again. A Bronze Age document from a neutral empire, the Greeks and we once clashed over Troy. So, did the Trojan War happen? Here's the honest verdict. The city, real,
rich, strategic. Greeks fighting over it, documented. A violent end at the right moment in the ashes. But one 10-year war uniting all of Greece over a stolen queen. The evidence points to something smaller and longer. Decades of raids and power struggles, which 400 years of poets compressed into a single perfect story. The way a pearl forms around a grain of sand. Homer didn't record a war. He built a monument out of the rubble of several. The apple, the heel, the horse, that's the pearl. Wilusa is the sand. The hill at Hisarlik is still there. You can stand on walls that were already ancient ruins when Homer sang about them. Walls that may have watched whatever really happened become the greatest story ever told about war. But for one Greek king, the fall of Troy wasn't the end of the story. His voyage home should have taken weeks. It took 10 years, past a one-eyed giant, a witch who turns men into pigs, and the song that no sailor survives. Next time, the Odyssey, the myth and the real Bronze Age sea hiding inside it. That's the story in theaters right now. Here, you'll get the version Hollywood can't tell you.